Hello, students. We're going to be looking at ethical and legal issues that are facing teachers on an everyday basis. Before beginning this PowerPoint presentation, please go to the module for week 8 and find the document for law case studies. I want you to be able to prepare to respond to 2 of those, your choice, but you have several cases. There are 7 on the document. So please select 2 that you'll be able to respond to when we next meet. As I mentioned in the last PowerPoint presentation, I've asked you to go ahead and write additional journal entries based on your observation within your cooperating teachers' classrooms while your thoughts are still fresh in your mind. Using this Danielson's framework for effective teaching, this should help you really organize your thoughts. Now, I gave you a different version of this, and again, go through it carefully, take a look at each of these different topics, and obviously these are the things that you're going to be writing about within your journal entry. Equity is the most important aspect of this discussion of technology. And we're seeing evidence of this right now as the governor has closed down not only the schools, but now closed down libraries and other sources of students having access to Wi-Fi. This is really going to impact those students who have no way to maximize the instruction that the teachers are putting together for their classes. Equity is really an issue that we have to look at. And, just providing a device does not mean that the student is going to have access. Our next discussion is going to be on the ethical and legal issues that face teachers. This cartoon that I've added just gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about in terms of ethics, how important are ethics in today's society. When you look at the cartoon, obviously you see that one student has prepared and is able to write a response, but others are just looking right over at his paper. How do you feel about that? Within this chapter study, there are a lot of key terms that you're going to have to be sure that you have accessed within the textbook. Most of these I will include in the PowerPoint presentation, but please make sure that you have read the chapter before we go through this. When we talk about ethics, we're talking about what we should be doing, what is fair, what is unfair. Very often we hear our students say, but that's not fair. You didn't treat me fairly. When we go through this, we have to remember that there are things that we need to do within the classroom that might not appear to be fair, providing that we do have justification for doing those actions. When we talk about the law, these are actions that we must follow. Ethics are not written. Ethics are what we have been brought up to know what is right, what is fair, what is expected of us. On the other hand, laws are concrete. They have been written, they have been recorded, and they must be followed by members of a community. When we look at characteristics of ethical teaching, we are discussing moral deliberation. And what that means is that we have to listen to both sides of any situation and then make educated judgments based on those presentations. All right, we have to totally work toward protecting the rights of both sides of an argument. These are some of the characteristics of ethical teaching. First of all, empathy. We have to be able to put ourselves in the shoes of others, to put ourselves in that situation and how would we feel. We have to have knowledge. We have to have knowledge of the entire situation so that we can determine what the consequences can be. Reasoning. We have to be able to reflect on an issue. As you know, with the weeks that we have been together, you know how important reflection is. The next would be courage. There are sometimes you're going to make decisions within a classroom that might not be the most popular decision, but you have to know that you're doing things for the betterment of most of the students, keeping in mind those who will think that your decisions are unfair. And lastly, your interpersonal skills that we've talked about many, many times. Being able to converse and being able to project the right affect, the right tone, so that students know that you are looking out for their best interest. When you're talking about ethical deliberation, there are times when you're going to have to make decisions on the spot. You don't have time to say, well, let me go home and think about that. Right? It doesn't work that way with education. You have to be able to respond immediately. So be a good listener, listen to both sides of deliberation, and make the best educated judgment that you possibly can. When we're talking about ethics, we have to include what is called our moral compass. Our moral compass is really how we have been taught and how we have been brought up. In many cases, this would be life lessons that you've learned from your parents or from your grandparents. This is your religious background. This is your understanding of what is right and what is wrong. And again, most importantly, that you are a good listener, that you can listen to both sides of the situation. I can't stress the aspect of this slide anymore. The everyday ethics of teaching means that you're doing the job as it ought to be done. You are the role model for your students. You've developed a classroom environment that shows respect. It's the safe haven that we have talked about. It's a sense of trust. And once the students have that comfortable feeling within your classroom, they can learn to the best of their abilities. Ethical dialogue, again, honesty, respect, responsibility. You have to be able to show the right way of doing things. I have shown you this slide before, and I will continue to show it to you all the way through our work together because it is so important. Remember that with everything you do, you are a teacher. All right, your lifestyle does make a difference. In a time now when everything has to be online, please make sure that you are setting a good example. All right, it's not a time for, do as I say, not as I do. You have to be able to show what is correct, what's the right way.